Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's weekly media availability with Austin FC head coach Josh Wolff. Please give me about a minute or two to give everyone permission to record, and then we'll get started. All right, everyone should have permission to record. As always, please use your raise hand function. We have about 20 minutes and we'll get to as many questions as possible. First up, Mike Craven with the Statesman.
Hey, Coach, I'd imagine a pretty good feeling around camp after the win. Is it a little disappointing that this is the week where there's a break? Would you guys have liked to kind of just keep that going? And I guess, how do you assess this week and kind of give guys a little bit of a breather?
Well, I think they need a breather. I think last week, if we thought of it on the whole, in Salt Lake at altitude, down a guy, we put a lot into it, and I think it was good in some ways, and obviously bad in some ways. I think it put us in a tough spot for Wednesday, even though we were at home, and I think we felt the effects a little bit of that, even though it was a 4 days to turn around and do it, but. Again, I think they put a lot into this third game at home, and we needed to. It's Portland's a good opponent, and the execution, the discipline, and again the desire to play the way that we've been working on, and obviously to get the goal and then to have the hunger to get more goals it was gratifying. And it'd be, I guess, yes, you could say it would be nice to get right back on the horse, so to speak, and have another game, but they need to recover. It was a big week, and we'll get an extra day or so to recover this week, which was nice. And now, a rivalry game at home against a team that beat us. And we need to come in with full commitment, full freshness, and real clear ideas as to what it's going to look like.
I mean, is there any extra emphasis on this game? Because I know it's a sour taste coming out of the last game in Dallas. So do y'all address that head on? Do you treat it like every other game? Kind of how do you guys go about discussing that stuff?
Well, I think we address it with we need points, and we're at home, and ties don't do you any good right now, and ties at home will never really do you good. So we need to come home and be at home and put a first 45 minutes like we did there, and know that Dallas probably is going to come out and try to prevent that from happening. And we have to understand what it's going to look like and how we can affect them and break them down, but also be aware they got quality players also. So we've got to be disciplined and certainly have a level of physicality and intensity. It's a rivalry game, and one that we need to certainly return serve on, and that's what we're going to be looking to do at home. Be aggressive, and try to get our points.
Thank you. Next up, Chris Bills with the Striker Texas.
Hi, Josh. There's been something I've been kind of sitting on and waiting for the right moment to ask you about, but it just occurred to me that with All-Star upcoming and the World Cup qualifiers, might as well. So during the pandemic, I started watching some old games, one of them being the 2001 U.S.-Mexico match. And if I'm not mistaken, you ended up with Jorge Campos's jersey after that one. Mm-hmm. And I think you might have grabbed his jersey at some point and said you wanted it. I just was wondering if you could tell that story and if you still have it somewhere.
Well, Jorge was a teammate of mine in Chicago, and as a rookie that year, he took to me really nicely, and I helped out, and we created a good friendship and a good bond. I was like his little golf buddy. I was probably like his little brother for a little while. For a lot of the first half of the year, I was part of Project 40, so I wasn't always around. But when I was around, I was the young kid on the team, and I took to a lot of the guys and was open to obviously listening and learning, and he was a great person, a great human being, and we shared a lot of time on the field and off the field. So I think there was more friendship. So when I saw him there, just as I've seen him in passing over the last 20 years, he's somebody that I still have fond memories of and a good relationship with. I don't have the jersey. I gave the jersey to a friend of mine, a Mexican friend of mine from Atlanta when when I was back home many years ago. But I've got still a lot of jerseys, which my wife always asks me what is it we're doing with these jerseys. But it was good. It was good memories, good times, and obviously those games are a different animal, qualifying and it's difficult. So that was a memorable one for sure.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot too, but I don't have as good of an excuse as you do. But yeah, and who was the friend that you gave that to? Is it somebody who asked for that, or did you just sort of a little token of friendship that you gave?
Yeah, more of a token. He was he owned some restaurants in Atlanta and always took care of us and our family. So I thought it was a good gesture, and at that time, I probably figured, I'll be part of the national team. I'll have many opportunities to get more jerseys. And, I just thought it was more a good gesture for him. He was a big fan, and I was able to help him out with that.
Is it hanging in one of the restaurants then?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it's in his house or a restaurant at this point.
Okay. And then more on the field stuff, like watching back the match, obviously Danny was dropped a little bit deeper. And I noticed that Jean had a larger role, maybe defensively, than he has in some games. I'm just wondering how much his abilities in that sense to cover ground and to make up some spaces, allowing you to be a little bit more creative with the midfielders than maybe you were earlier in the season.
Yeah, I think we talked a lot in this game just about good balance. We knew Portland has extremely good players in transition. Asprilla, Chara, Mora, even Diego Chara coming from the middle, Williamson coming from the middle. So as we were able to get a good orientation when we had the ball and good positional components in between lines, some height out wide, still guys along the line to run behind it. It was a pretty good structure. And as we progressed, keeping Z or Nikki, depending on if it was the strong side or the weak side, in a good position to help if we needed to swing back around, but also if we produced an attack that they were in an area now that could help put things out or win a ball. So a big emphasis was on balance while attack. We've talked, and again, against Vancouver, it was lost. And that was something I was really disappointed by. And again, I think it was fatigue, mental fatigue, physical fatigue that really affected our guys. And we put a big emphasis on the 2 days leading into this game and talked about the need for it. And certainly that's something that we had in previous games as well. So, Z's a very technical player, and whether he's inside or outside, Nicky as well. I think, we talk to these guys as balls come back around. You don't need to go wide, but if you can stay inside, maybe the winger comes down, and now you have, some positional advantages where we can still get guys running behind the line and still have guys inside. So we're still learning, executing. It's always going to be the balance. You mentioned teaching. I think you questioned our ability to teach last week. And, it takes time. And these guys, I think you can see when, some of the work that we've done is very clear. It doesn't always come off, but, it's a long season with a lot of different opponents and moving parts along the way. But I thought the guys did a good job understanding it and certainly, putting an emphasis on the things that we talked about and worked on.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Coach.
it
Next up, John Lupo.
Hey, Josh. So obviously anytime you get a win is a terrific feeling, but do you feel like that going into another derby with, as you said, the extra day off, you get a week to recharge, do you feel like that there's maybe some extra momentum going into the game against Dallas?
Well, I think momentum will be created with another good performance and good result. Right now, it's a good result on the back end of a very busy three games in 7 days. So we're hoping that momentum is realized, obviously during this week with the good feelings that we have, but with what it could really feel like when you get through the next game, and you put your mindset into what it's going to look like, what the opponent's going to bring, but ultimately what we're going to bring, and the level of intensity and focus and our willingness and desire to go get goals and have a discipline about our approach, but a hunger about our approach. And then I think when you get that result, then you have a bit more momentum. And again, we've talked about what our goals are for the year. You want to continue to stay attached. And right now, we need points. We're at home, and ties don't do us good. So we'll come in aggressive and certainly disciplined, but hungry. We need performances like we had on Saturday, and we need results like we had on Saturday. And it doesn't just happen. So we got to go out and make it happen. And then I think that momentum will really start to pick up. You've seen it around the league. There's a number of teams that we've always said you win 3, 4 in a row in this league. You go from out of the playoffs into the playoffs from 6th, 7th to 2nd and 1st. So you've already seen that certainly in the Eastern Conference with a number of teams. And, we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. This one game, we win 1 in a row. We're working on winning 2 in a row. That's the focus.
Also, I wanted to ask you about Sebastian. He opened his account in that win over Portland. So it seems like he's really settling into the team now. What do you think he's been able to do to get more comfortable with the system and to blend in with the guys? What have you seen from him?
There's a lot that you see from him. From the moment he got here, he is as open and endearing to the group as I've ever seen from a player coming from outside the league. He has I think a real appreciation for the way that we play and certainly the environment and the culture. He has his rapport with the players is clear with, certainly with, Spanish speaking players or Latin players, but also the rest of the group. I mean, he understands English just fine, and he can speak probably more than he lets on. So his ability to come in and link up and be present in every way imaginable is extremely relevant. And on the field, I think, again, you saw a player that's extremely good on the ball in tight spaces and has a real calmness about the way he plays the game and certainly his influence on the game. And again, that's from a defending standpoint as well as an attacking standpoint. You can see the kind of the backyard soccer that they play. Obviously there's a structure and organization, but when Matt has the ball and Diego's in the area and Alex is in the area and Cece's in the area, you see real, chemistry and connection that happens instinctively, but also keeping in mind how we want to break lines and how we want to progress attacks. But it's effortless for him at times, and we got to maintain that. We know other teams are going to try to take that away as well, so we got to have good supporting players around him. But he's come in and done a great job. He paused us at halftime to make sure he wanted some words to say, and that's where he's at. And he's like Alex, like Cecilio, like Matt. He's a leader in his own right, and it's been a real welcomed addition from the entire group and the staff as well.
Thank you, Coach. Next up, Jorge Turalde.
Hi, Josh. I have a couple questions. The first one, the rivalry with FC Dallas. I have seen on especially on the last game with FC Dallas, the support groups. They go back and forward trying to, even sometimes insult each other. Do you guys on the field feel any rivalry with Dallas, or just another game?
Again, I think rivalries, they take moments. They take whether it's from the fans, whether it's from a player, whether it's from coaches, whether it's an incident. Of course, there's this natural rivalry because we're both in state and we're relatively close to each other, but it takes history, and we're right now just creating that history. We've had one game against them, and we had tremendous support in Dallas, and we didn't get the result on the day, but I expect the rivalry to grow. And, I certainly think there is a level of intensity. We played Houston and Dallas in the same week, back to back, which provided its own challenges, but obviously a real intensity. And now we'll get a week lead up, as will they, to this game. And again, I think both teams are in need of obviously continuing to get points and stay connected to the playoff line. But there's also a realization you want to be the best team in the state. And, that's something that I think all three of us have spoke about. And, it comes one with intensity and then performance. But, I expect the rivalry to grow. But organically, it happens with something within a game. Somebody gets upset. There's a bad tackle, bad call, something in the stands, parking lot. It can be from anything. But it'll grow on its own. It's tough to think you can manufacture it or have to try to create it. It should take hold on its own.
Okay, now we see on social media all the players, or most of the players, they seem to be happy. They seem to be pleased with Saturday's games. Is that hard to keep that positive attitude till the next game?
No, I think we want to continue to nurture that and identify what it was that we did in those games and again, what we've been working on over the course of 6 months here. And again, I'll say you don't just go out on the field and it just happens. You got to go make it happen. You have to understand individually your role and how you're going to make that happen and define it. But it also fits into a collective idea. And that's, what we've been preaching and talking about often. And when all those things are connected and executed in a good way, you have opportunities and situations like what happened on Saturday. It was a very fluid, connected, offensive game. And there was still really good structure defensively. And we transitioned from some really good defensive structure, pressing moments as well. So it's a good performance. So there's a lot to pull back from that and pull out of that game, which we walked through and talked through a little bit today. And you want to, carry that momentum and carry that energy, that positive energy that you see on social media. It's similar here in the training center. We don't get too high when we have highs, and we don't get too low. We know that, this league is tough. Each game is competitive, and, our guys are, again, in a good place right now. We got to keep nurturing that and give them freshness come the weekend, but obviously have the right intensity and energy.
And the last one, we see on Sebastian's Instagram account, he's driving a Lamborghini on the city. You let him use your car?
Hey, these guys work hard. They get to enjoy life. And, Sebastian's a fantastic person. So I haven't seen him driving around in that car, but I'm sure he's doing just fine with it. He's great. He's a great spirit. He's a great character. And, I think that's, it's good to have. It's good to have that personality. And obviously he's well received by his teammates, and I'm sure well received by these fans. He's a fantastic human being and a tremendous player.
Thank you, Josh.
Yep.
Thank you, Jorge. Next up, Mark Turner.
Hey, Coach. So this is a big weekend for me. My English team, Nottingham Forest, playing the derby against Derby County. My Scottish team, Glasgow Rangers, playing the Glasgow derby against Celtic, which Claudio I know would be very familiar with. They're going to win their games. You're the last of the triumvirate Sunday night. So no additional pressure, Coach. No additional pressure. Now, you mentioned about derbies, about how, they develop over time and there can be moments and they all contribute to that real derby atmosphere. Obviously, you've got players on your roster who have experienced derbies already elsewhere. So what do you hear from the players? Do they have an appreciation for what a Texas derby means? Do they know what a derby means to the fans? Are you seeing that in practice and kind of in that intensity and in the conversations they're having?
Again, I think because players, even in our league and some of our international players have experienced that. So I think there's good understanding of what it is. And obviously this is the inception of this team. So we've had 2 derbies now, one in Q2 and obviously one in Dallas. And, I think they understand, they recognize what that means and the level of intensity. Again, I think these games look and feel far different at our stadium because of our fans, because of the intensity, because of the intrigue and the energy that they give us and that they bring naturally to the stadium. I don't, that's for us when we go on the road. Also, we got to be mindful of, because we need to bring that energy, and our fans do bring that energy and did in Dallas. And that's the part of the derby that makes it extra special. There's a level of intensity and certainly investment from everybody. And, I think our fans have shown tremendous support already on the road. And, I don't know that too many people or too many teams can say that they bring the same amount of passion, energy, numbers, noise, anything. And, that's reflective of, again, this entire community, culture, and environment that's here with Austin FC. So the guys are excited by it, and it'll be obviously it'll be a nice game to be at home, as it was when we played Houston and we lost to Dallas. So there's certainly some extra motivation behind it. And again, it's us trying to get in and stay attached to that playoff line. And it's a really important game. And it's nice that it's against one of our foes from the same state.
So it's MLS All-Star Week. You've probably seen there's been a lot of chatter online about Brad Stuver and his omission from the All-Star team, which, given his performances this year, given his stats, everything suggests he should have been there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a very consistent goalkeeper, and maybe we've lacked the win, so it doesn't put him as high up in the ranks in that category. But he's performed really well. His obviously the way that we play is utilizing him to build up and obviously play out of the back, but the shot stopping's been extremely good as well. And, from the start of the season when we were taking a lot more, we were certainly absorbing a bit more chances than I'd say we have the last few weeks, last couple months, but he's been very consistent and, it's unfortunate for him, but this is his first time getting a starting job, and I think he's done extremely well, and we're hopeful that his growth and development continue and that confidence continues to exude, and he brings that to our group because it's a big part of why we get to do what we can do. It starts with him often, and when teams break us down, it ends with him. So it's been good, and we've been fortunate to have him performing at a high level.
Thank you, Mark. Looks like we have time for one more question. Eric Goodman, go ahead and take the last question.
Thank you. Hey, Josh. So between the illness and then kind of what that corresponded to in terms of a little subpar play on the field for Cecilio, we went through a difficult either couple of weeks or a week and a half in those last two games and seemed to really put that behind him in a big way on Saturday. This is something I would love to ask him personally, but just from your perspective, do you think there was maybe a learning experience that came out of these past 2 or 3 weeks for him as he kind of still settles into this new environment that may be kind of a more longer term thing that he can take with him out of this?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's exactly right. And it's, he has performed pretty well at times, and he hit a little bit of a lull and he was ill. I mean, you could hear it in his voice, and there were a number of guys that had a little bit of a cold and kind of went through it. But, it's also my job to make that really clear that, when you're performing like that, it's unacceptable and it's a detriment to the team. So he can also be, give us the information earlier in the day, especially if he's ill as he was that day. And we can help him along. But it's also, for us as a club and an organization, as a team, you can't be off in this league. We need to maximize all of our players, all of our starters, whether you're a DP or not. We've got to be committed and ready and healthy and firing on all cylinders. And his form had dipped a little bit, but we had to do what we did in that moment, or I had to do what I did in that moment for the betterment of the team. And again, I think it also sends a message right away to Cecilio and the rest of the group that, there's certain expectations, and, in order for us to go and play and succeed, it's all of us, and we have to have everybody on the same page, working in the same way. And I think he reacted again after the game in a professional way, took responsibility, apologized to everyone, and right away he was up for it. I'm like, and we talked about it, and I said, if you're healthy and you're recovered, you're going to play. And I also understand at that moment he's got a real responsibility and a desire from his own competitive nature. If you see him here every day, I mean, his ability to compete is unbelievable. Everything we do is with some competition, and he thrives in it. And I think that was, maybe it was a little bit eye-opening for him, but he brought a great energy and intensity and was rewarded with, a goal and a lot of very good lead-up play for us in and around the penalty box. And hopefully it's, something that kind of kickstarts now the second half of the season for him and for the rest of the group.
You've only ever spoke really highly about his character as a person, but just any player that's had success internationally, who isn't American, and do you still feel like there's kind of this narrative that, oh, MLS, like, I'm gonna go in and score 20 goals first season, no problem. Like, is that still something that players coming to this league from outside kind of have to go through it and go through these tribulations to kind of shake that kind of, it's just kind of a cultural thing at this point that we've dealt with here in this country?
Yeah, I think to that point, you've seen a lot of notable players come here, and some have done well, some have struggled. I still think the environment in which they're coming into also needs to support and lend to their best qualities. And again, Cecilio has been a winger or a second striker of sorts, so we've moved him around based on some of our needs and some of our deficiencies this year. But he's adapted relatively well, I thought. Initially, he got here and had great bonds with the team and has taken English on really quickly. And again, his personality, his charisma is effortless, and his quality on the field is continuing to evolve. I mean, he has some individual things that he's able to do, but we're also trying to fit him into this idea of what it looks like as an 11, as a collective group, and the roles of each player. And you see that in bits and pieces. You saw what that can look like for him, again, for him, but for everyone. And it can be humbling coming to this league. It's not an easy league by any stretch of the imagination. It's physical. There's a lot of travel. Players that come from Europe or from South America, maybe you don't have as many high level quality players around you, depending on where you come from. But that can be challenging. But most teams in this league have a pretty good first 14, 15 guys. So you got to be open-minded and very committed and responsible as a European, a South American, no matter if you're a full international or someone that's just now coming to our league. But it is not easy to come to this league by any stretch.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Josh.
Coach. Looks like that